What is meditation, and what does it look like for you? How has society's relationship with meditation shifted over time? Join us as we discuss mindful meditation and more on this week's episode of Between Generations.
Mindfulness is very important in our personal journeys. We all have different paths, and where we arrive at our ways of being and living for different reasons. It is an area that is easy to place judgment on others for engaging the world differently. Welcome to Between Generations. I'm Buddy Rodriguez. Today we'll be talking about mindfulness and meditation. Today I'm sitting here with Amy Ariana. How are you doing today, Amy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. So explain your involvement with meditation and mindfulness.
So I am certified in 5 styles of yoga. I'm also certified as a pranayama guide, which is the breath. Okay. I've practiced yoga since 2011 and I've taught since 2017. And my practice of mindfulness meditation has transformed my world.
Okay. So I am an indigenously trained yoga practitioner. My parents are immigrants from Punjab in India, and I would say my first experience with yoga was as a very young child. My grandmother was a devout Sikh, and her yoga practice, I don't know that she would call it that, it was more of a meditation practice is what she involved me with as a child. So that practice really carried me through my life. I started practicing more in high school and around that age, and just consistently, and just recently opened Sun People Yoga, a yoga space here in Tulsa. It's the first BIPOC owned yoga space in Tulsa with my husband.
So how was the practice of meditation introduced to you?
I was introduced to meditation as a teenager. I was invited to a meditation class as about 16 years old as a way to manage anxiety and to manage feelings of being uncomfortable in my own self. And it's been consistent since then. So for half my life, I've been in meditation or in mindfulness practices.
Actually, my wife. We have a health coaching business, and she has practiced yoga her whole life. And, her wanting to save me, have my best interest in mind.
I grew up Christian here in Tulsa in the church, so prayer was something that's always been in my life. Prayer is something that, was introduced to me before, even school was introduced to me. And so that is an aspect of my life that's always been there. But as I got older, I felt like I was always talking to God, but it was like I'm talking to a wall. There wasn't, it wasn't a reciprocated conversation. So as I began studying yoga and realized what meditation really was, the quieting of the mind, and then moving into those spaces, I realized then I could silence the chaos all around me and kind of hear more clearly, and then also find a space of stillness.
So what drew you to the practice?
When I walked into yoga spaces, probably like in college for the first time, I saw a lot of my culture represented. I saw a lot of Indian deities. I saw Sanskrit words being spoken, but really didn't recognize, I didn't really make the connection between what I was experiencing there and what I grew up with and the practice I grew up with. It was quite a big separation between that. So it really took me some time to even realize what the rootedness of that was, and how, I didn't know what a yoga mat was, and yoga pants were just the pants that you wear when you're practicing yoga. Yeah. It wasn't all this commercialized, fitness-based stuff. It was more of a individual practice. And so that's what really has deepened and strengthened my practice and given me an appreciation for the opportunity to share that in connection with others.
Initially, what drew me to the practice was physical fitness. Honestly, I started it as people start Pilates or people start aerobics or weightlifting or something. I grew up doing gymnastics and dance, and so yoga kind of just went hand in hand. But as I went deeper, I realized there's so much more there. I mean, it's a well that is just, it's amazing, it's deep. And then I actually went to India, and I was there and studied over there, and went deeper and wanted to come home and kind of share with Tulsans.
Because it works. It really works, and there are so many ways to practice meditation or mindfulness that will carry me throughout my entire life. So what I liked when I was 16 is different than what I like now, but the effects are the same.
I got into meditation and yoga as a personal practice, first for physical. But then I realized the mindset approach and mindsets change and the spirituality that could be attached to this, and it gave me liberation, really liberation from the systems that were basically instilled to keep me oppressed and keep me in control. But once I found that, it allowed me to free myself of that.
So do you feel like society's understanding of mindfulness has been accepted over the years?
Yes and no. I think in recent years, with more conversation about decreasing the stigma around mental health, mindfulness and mindful meditation has been something that's been revisited. But I think society as a whole, we're still a very distracted society. I mean, you wake up and you check in on social media, and then you go right to your 8 to 5 job, and then you get home and you turn on Netflix. It's distraction after distraction after distraction. The average person doesn't actually sit quiet with themselves in their day.
So society, meaning let's say mainstream society in America, we all have seen the explosion and the commercialization of yoga, and so many ways that yoga is sold. So I see that increasing, but as we know, this is a really ancient practice, and that impact, that colonial impact, that capitalism impact has also impacted yoga in India. We're a living culture. We didn't freeze in this ancient civilization that now we can pick and choose, and Columbus, whatever works for us now. And so that has to change. And one thing I really appreciate is that yoga is a living practice made by living people that are older than India, older than any culture that can be documented. There's breath, there's movement, the very basic things, dancing, motion, breathing, spiritual practice. That's our nature. So hopefully that universality, where this is something that is for everybody, if they're alive and breathing, not even, and not seeing ourselves so separate from the broader living truth, is something that I hope expands with more understanding and awareness of mindfulness.
I think it's in certain areas it has become more accepted. I think in certain demographics it's become a lot more commercialized than the actual mindfulness practices. I think people are coming in looking for an experience instead of healing. And that's what I was finding. I was finding that I wasn't getting the healing that I was looking for, because people were looking for like this cruise ship experience or this spa experience. And I was coming into these places and not finding the safety to be able to heal, because you have to have the right environment for healing. I wasn't around people that breathed like me, that knew the things that I was going through out on the streets.
What do you think the biggest misconception of mindfulness and meditation is?
I believe the biggest misconception is that we have to be still in order to be in meditation. There are there are thoughts that we have to be still, that we have to have our minds completely clear, and that we have to be a certain way in order to be in meditation. And that's just a complete misconception. We don't have to be calm in order to meditate. We don't have to have our minds completely cleared for what we're doing to be considered meditation.
That's a good question. I think the biggest misconception is that, specifically in Tulsa, is that mindfulness or meditation is bad, or something like that. But you're only using your own mind, your own breath as a tool. You're not integrating anything else, no objects, no anything. And so to me, nothing about that even could be bad. You're just bringing yourself present. And I tell people all the time not to fear what they don't understand.
I think the biggest misconception that I encounter is that people frequently say, they're like, I can't do yoga. I'm not good at it. I can't do meditation because I can't sit in a perfect lotus posture for whatever amount of time, or my mind keeps wandering. I'm way too anxious to do this or that. And so I think the general concept that you can be good at mindfulness, or that there's a such thing as being good at yoga, is inherently problematic, is inherently rooted in untruth. Because everybody's a beginner at any point. It's cultivating that beginner's mind, and so it's really engaging at the edge of your own progress. And so I think that's the biggest misconception.
It's some voodoo or some devil worship or something like that. No, it's just being at peace, being aware of your body, being aware of your mind, your spirit, being aware of your breath, because in my practice and in a lot of mindfulness yoga practices, the breath is a source of life. And just take a moment to breathe. Inhale, exhale. That can make a difference in your whole day.
Do you constantly get surprised by your practice?
I am constantly surprised by my practice. It is almost 2021, and I've taught for going on 4 years now, which is crazy. And to think that every single time I visit, it's something new revealed to me, often timely of what I'm going through, exactly what I need. And I've never capped. I'm never like, oh, I've arrived. It truly is a practice. It's not someone is good or bad. It's just someone is beginning or someone is more engulfed.
What constantly surprises me about the practice is that the more that I practice yoga, the less that I know what it is, what yoga is. So, I feel like when I first started practicing yoga, I was very, when I first started formally practicing, I should say, and that was being in high school, 16 years old, angsty, and finding some yoga books and reading about those postures, or trying different things, or I think I might have had a DVD or something. So I felt like I knew what yoga is. Yoga is this sequence or these stretches, and then you do this. And then I'm like, oh wait, you gotta breathe, and then there's this part, and there's some reading about it, and this is what yoga is. And now if I don't know what to say. If someone says, what is yoga? I'm like, oh no, what do you think it is?
It surprises me, honestly, how well it works too.
We are down to the last question of the interview, and this is, what do you love about Tulsa?
What I love about Tulsa is it's a hidden gem.
Well, I grew up here, and I've only ever lived in Tulsa. And I think in high school, I really wanted to leave. I wanted to get out of Tulsa to explore something else. But now that I've been here, I've loved the resurgence. I've loved the commitment to helping more and more people get better and to have more opportunities to make things happen here. I think that this is a really great place to put a stake in the ground and to help more people. There's a lot. I love the nonprofit organizations that are here, and I love the opportunities.
The people. in Tulsa. So I lived in Houston for about 10 years, and from that experience coming back here, I grew up I came from Canada, so I lived in different places. But what I love about Tulsa is that people want to connect more frequently on a real level. In Houston, I felt like lonely, but surrounded by millions and millions of people. And that's what I love about Tulsa, is that people genuinely want to have a conversation and care about one another. And that's the part that I love most.
It's important to understand that no matter where we are in life or what we practice, the main goal is to have an open heart and understanding each other and yourself.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Between Generations. Meditation can be a tool that can have positive impacts on our total wellness. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and press subscribe. And don't forget to hit all notifications so you don't miss a single episode. Again, I'm your host Malerie, and be sure to join us every other week on YouTube for Between Generations.